What's up, guys? Wes, the People's Pitmaster, back for another episode of the Smoke Ring Syndicate. Guys, you're watching the behind the scenes recording of the podcast. We've got Kunchi here from Daytona, Florida. You guys know him from Cooking with Kunchi or Cooking with Kunchi. I can't even pronounce it, can I?
Yep,
Butchered
Cookin
it.
Wid.
Cooking, cooking with Kunchi. I butchered it. Can you hear me? We're all good. Got
Yes, sir.
visual, got audio. Last time we did this, we had absolutely no video. So you
Yep.
get to see my beautiful face, and I get to see yours. And we're gonna
Yeah.
get this thing after this daggum episode started. You ready?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Awesome, awesome. What's up, guys? Wes, the People's Pitmaster, back again for another episode of the Smoke Ring Syndicate. It's my weekly barbecue podcast that drops every Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week, we're pulling into Daytona, Florida, sitting down with Cookin Wid Kunchi Lattore. Can you hear me, buddy?
Yes, sir. I can.
Fantastic. This is the second episode that you've been on with me on the podcast. I think the first episode we had just audio, and now we've upgraded to audio and video. Um, what you been up to, man? I know you. When we spoke before, you were doing the reggae spice thing, and now, man, you're like a YouTube superstar and a TikTok superstar. Probably TikTok more than doing anything, really. But
Mhm.
walk me through what you've been up to, man.
So, thank you, man, for having me again. And it's awesome to be back for a second time. I think this space is more about relationships than it is about accolades. So I appreciate, knowing you for some time, and I'm pretty sure soon we're gonna get to cook some stuff together. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We just got to make it happen, bro.
Yeah.
But as far as what I've been up to, um, so last year, myself and Reggae Spice Company, we just had a split. Personally, I felt like I wasn't gonna be able to do all the things that I aspire to do while trying to grow the company in the way that I was tasked to do. So
Hmm.
um, in order to get to the type of content that I want to do, to reach the audience that I wanted to do, I had to take a different approach. So right now, I've been doing some things, doing a lot of work with B&B Charcoal. Just went up to Alabama last week. Did a barbecue class with them um, at Barbecue. Also shot some content for B&B that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. Um, have an event lined up with them in September where we're going to a True Value event. Have some barbecue classes lined up that myself and North Texas Barbecue Addicts are doing a collaboration on, working on getting some seasonings started so people can actually taste the jerk seasoning, since
Hmm.
a lot of people are saying, like, I can't get the blend like you. um, Working
Yeah.
on a book right now that hoping to get out to the public by late summer. All right, it's
Okay.
midsummer right now. Working
Well,
overnight to get that done. It's not a
well,
recipe book, so if you guys are thinking about a recipe book, that's not what I'm coming at you with. Right? We don't need another recipe book. We need information that's going to motivate and elevate the barbecue community, and that's what we're gonna do.
man, you've been slightly busy, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you kind of touched on like everything all in one. So guys, we'll see you later. Appreciate you watching the episode. Um, man, I was like, holy cow! Like I see a little bit of this stuff, but man, the behind the scenes is absolutely crazy.
It's
Um,
crazy.
it looks like we've got some folks in the comments there. Got Jimmy
Yeah,
Allen,
Jimmy's my neighbor.
Jennifer Carswell from Georgia.
All
I don't
right,
know if that's
Jennifer.
Georgia in America or Georgia across the pond, but I'm in Atlanta myself. So you could have been in the studio audience. What you're Jennifer, you're slacking. You got John McGuire, my buddy up from New Hampshire, and his need for subtitles. Sorry, buddy. It is what it is. So, man, you left Reggae Spice because you couldn't do both. You couldn't be Reggae Spice rep, and you couldn't be Kunchi Cookin Wid Kunchi at the same time. It couldn't, it's not something that you could just be both people, and you couldn't do the fusion for barbecue and for the Jamaican culture that you come from, and you made a choice to be you, and I think it was been a pretty wise choice just from what I'm seeing on social media, and I mean, this the amount of followers, the amount of content that you're putting out. Um, so I mean, obviously you made the right choice, and you made the choice, right, how long ago versus getting to where you are now? I mean, was it been a year?
So I made that choice last June, I think, was when I worked last. And
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, it's not as if you can't do both. You can do both, but I think personally I wanted to be excellent at whatever I'm doing. And
Mhm.
so the attention to detail that you need when you're trying to come up with a product and you're trying to represent yourself to the highest level and you're trying to give your audience max attention, you know what I mean, like responding to comments, like responding to messages, emails, all of this stuff. I think you kind of have to just focus on, what is important to you. And the real goal that I had when I got into creating barbecue content was so that I could help others and to be the person that I wish I had when I was starting to learn barbecue.
Mhm.
So me being a sales rep would have been self-serving. Yes, I would have made money. Yes, I would be traveling all over the country. Yeah, lots of awesome things, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't have had a car payment because I would have had a company car. Like all of these things, okay, but is it serving me? And not just me, but is it fulfilling me but serving my audience? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think my audience, people who have clicked that subscribe button or that follow button, deserve what they signed up for. They signed up for me helping them learn how to run their Weber kettle, right? Or
Yeah.
how to smoke on a drum smoker for 20 hours and not have to reload it, and stuff like that. That is what I'm trying to bring you. And that's why you don't really see a lot of selling
Yeah.
on on my page, because it's, man, it's not really what I'm here for. So
Yeah.
I kind of just had to choose the people, basically.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like you can gain a lot of followers and then just turn around and alienate them with, hey, come buy this particular thing, and that's, they've grown to like you for the information that they get from you, and they don't
Mhm.
have to weed through, product placement and that sort of thing. Obviously, there's a couple of things that you do that you represent, that you stand with and behind, but you really, I mean, just kind of thinking back through your content, you've really kind of always been, I know since 2021, B&B charcoal has kind of been your thing.
Yeah.
Because I actually today I had in my Facebook memories thing, it was a post from you, and it was you had tagged me and said, "Hey Wes, this stuff is legit," and it was a picture of B&B charcoal. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I know he's been with them, he's been rocking with them for at least 3 years,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I had just said it and you had seen them, or how it had transitioned, but I just had seen that it was like you had tagged me and tagged B&B Charcoal, and about them being legit.
So
And I was like, there's
I will never forget where my love for B&B charcoal started, and it was in your
okay.
Facebook group. And in that Facebook group, somebody had posted about the snake,
Hmm.
the snake method. And so I went out, man, because I was like, this seems really cool. I can't believe this is happening. I didn't own a Weber kettle. My neighbor, Jimmy Allen, who you see in here, he had a Weber kettle that it's just been sitting out on the patio, right? We never really messed with it. We used to always just hang out front and,
Hmm.
drink our beers and whatever. So we're like, dude, let's try this thing. And I promise you, dude, we went and we bought a bag of the other charcoal that shall remain nameless. Right? And we tried the snake. We got a pork butt on it, and we stood around the kettle all day. Right?
Yeah.
It was raining. We stood out front on right in front of Jimmy's house, and we were just standing there, dude, just watching the thing. Like we didn't
Yeah.
sit down. You know what I mean? And every 10 minutes, like we had to go adjust because the temp was going up, and then we adjusted and the temp's coming down, and we're like, it's just going crazy.
Yeah.
And so I came back in the group, and I don't remember his correct name, but I know on Instagram he's Swine Assassin. So he
Yeah.
was the person that had told, like posted about it. Man, I was so mad at him, dude, for misleading me. You know what I mean? And boom. And so he kind of just, recommended, it's like, no, you got to try B&B, and this is how.
Yeah.
And I did. I didn't give up on the snake because this one didn't work and I didn't like it and all of that. But I tried the next way, and I promise you, dude, I have never, ever, ever like just fell in love with a product ever since. And while doing that, this is crazy. So while doing that and learning about B&B charcoal, I then took one night. This is how my TikTok started. Like it was crazy. We walked outside. It was 4 a.m. My kettle was going because now I bought a kettle,
Hmm.
and it was dark. I just turned the light on the patio, put the camera in my face. I'm like, guys, I'm gonna show you how this snake method has been cooking. Boom. I posted that video, like 5 a.m. because I was like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna post it. It doesn't matter when people wake up, right?
Yeah.
Went back to sleep, and I promise you, dude, like by 10 a.m., the video was going crazy.
Yeah.
And so people were asking me all kinds of questions now, like, so when do you spritz? You know what I mean? And so then I saw that, and I tapped on the comment, and I won't forget this. TikTok had just released a feature about responding to comments.
Hmm.
And so it popped up and it said, try this new feature. And I hit it, answered the question with, the question was right there. And I said what I said about spritzing, still believe it. So anybody who wants to know. And that video went crazy. And then somebody was like, wait till he, you know, somebody was like, it was something kind of cheeky about mustard as a binder.
Hmm.
And so then I made another video off of that, and I was like, man, this is the dumbest thing. And I called it a barbecue lie. And I had 3 videos going viral at the same time. I couldn't put my phone down. There was so many comments, so many like notifications. That's the first time I was like, okay, I got to turn notifications off.
Yeah.
And, from there, what I've done is not only have I shown people that this is legitimately how I do everything every day, simple, none of that stuff that you see glorified on the TV, not
Hmm.
necessarily about it being wrong, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
And so I just I keep showing the same thing. If you notice my content, it's not really a widespread. It's really just certain basic principles that somebody along the way has forgotten to talk about and to
Yeah.
encourage, and I feel like that's my space. And I just, I live there.
Yeah. Well, and I know you've probably looked at the possibilities of spreading out and doing like food trucks or brick and mortars or all that sort of thing. And outside of like catering, I feel like that's cussing at somebody, especially somebody that's found a niche like
Yeah.
you've got. And hopefully you don't have a food truck behind your house currently, but I, I feel like you found where you belong, where you fit in, and people resonate. Doing with how you're doing what you're doing, how you're doing it, and marrying in some of the Jamaican culture and some of the flavors that some folks just don't get to experience, and just seeing your backyard from your eyes essentially is what you're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have necessarily granted you've got quite the equipment on the back patio there now, but you don't have a glorified studio with lights and boom camera operators and all the things that have kind of become almost normal for
Hmm.
YouTube and content creators. Like it is, I started noticing you wear a mic now,
Yeah.
and I saw a little
Rig.
camera holder with a light
Yeah.
on it, and I was like, I mean, that's that's all you need. You don't need, staff necessarily. You do need somebody to hold the camera because sometimes you just, as evidenced by my personal content, you need somebody to hold the damn camera sometimes. But
Hmm.
you're doing what you're doing, staying in your lane, and there's nothing like extra. Like it's not like, let me jazz this up. Like this is legitimately what I'm doing. There's no smoke and mirrors. You're seeing what I'm doing, and that seems to resonate with people quite a bit. I mean, obviously by your follower content, which I mean, I don't have that many fingers and toes. Um, So you're creating content you started out TikTok, and from there your Instagram kind of have blown up, and then your Facebook is blowing up, and your YouTube is blowing up. Um, all the same content. I mean, like from a creator standpoint, like somebody looking to become what you're doing. I mean, like, are you creating standardized content for each one, or is it, what you're doing across the same platforms, across different platforms, the same content?
So I'm gonna explain this in the way that I learned it, and I take a lot of reference from a content creator mogul, Gary V. Right? Every platform has a different culture.
Hmm.
Okay, just let's everybody just think about when you are consuming content. You will watch a 20-minute video on YouTube, but if the same creator has that video on Instagram, right, the whole 20 minutes, you're not going to watch the whole thing on Instagram. It
Okay.
That's just not the culture. When we open Instagram or TikTok, this is it. When you open YouTube, I'm trying to learn something. And so what I've had to do, just, like when I started, I started on YouTube. Very first year, I just did YouTube religiously, no growth. And I think it's because I wasn't really comfortable with myself and my knowledge base at the time.
Hmm.
So I couldn't put the information out there how I wanted. Then when TikTok kind of just took me over, right? It was different. So when I tried to put the same TikTok stuff over on YouTube, it wouldn't work at all. So then I had to learn, like, all right, you need to be attentive to each platform in a different way. So I had to pause YouTube completely. I think for like over a year and a half, I just didn't post at all until shorts came about, and then I'll drop a short here and there. So I had TikTok going, and then last year, what I did, I came over to Instagram, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give Instagram its own little bit of attention, and
Hmm.
Facebook. And so pounding it on Instagram and doing that work, now my Instagram is caught up to my TikTok and about to
Hmm.
pass it. You know what I mean? So now what I'm doing is I have all this content that I've filmed. Nobody cares if you recycle your content because the goal is to get new audience every day. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Now I'm stepping into YouTube with the knowledge that I have of the platforms and how they behave, and my ability now to put that content out there better. I'm now
Hmm.
starting to do YouTube specific stuff. And, bits of YouTube here and there can go over on Instagram. Now TikTok allows the long form content for the widescreen angle. So you can throw that on TikTok as well. But right now my focus is going to be YouTube for the next few months. I will see when I put into the platform what I get out of it.
Hmm.
And content creation is an investment. It's an investment of time into other people who want your information. That's what
Hmm.
you're investing. You're investing your time into other people. And I think people need to understand that you're only going to get the amount of time that you're going to get is going to be the amount of time you put in. So
Hmm.
if like me personally, I only have my daughter and my neighbor to help me shoot content. I don't
Hmm.
really have like I don't have a big team, or like a whole bunch of friends where we're all doing barbecue stuff and all of that. Like, and my neighbor has a job. My daughter goes to school. So there's times when it's 10 a.m. and I'm home and I'm like, all right, I got to film this breaking down of a prime rib. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you're only going to get one angle today. You know what I mean? That's what it is. But when I got people around me, now I can have that help. Like I can explain like what shots I want to get. My daughter is now stepping into video editing. She wants to learn that craft. And so I'm
Hmm.
helping her learn that, and she's editing some of my videos now along the way. But man, it's if you don't have a team, it's gonna take a lot more time,
Yeah.
you know. and and it's fine. Like if I had done the fancy stuff, you know what I'm saying? I just would have been like everybody else. And
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable being anybody but myself,
Yeah. Well,
100%. So,
yeah. Well, and that's fair. I mean, obviously, because it does work, there's no use in being a personality, I guess you should say.
mhm.
Um, when what you're doing it works. Uh, yeah, your content creation from a what am I trying to say? So your content creation has kind of evolved into becoming to have a team, but you're not necessarily, blowing thousands of dollars on boom camera, mic operators or anything crazy like that.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself going to a studio type setting, like it's a heated and cooled space where you're cooking and doing the content from, being comfortable, so you can skip wiping beads of sweat occasionally, or are you going to keep it backyard focused and cooking with the backyard cookers?
So here, this is I don't know if we're ready to get to this point yet, right? But we're working myself and Kenneth from North Texas Barbecue Addicts. We're working on creating what we have now called Backyard Barbecue Academy. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, the goal is to eventually have an online proportion to this, but initially we're going to be going out and having classes in different areas, different communities, meeting the people, doing that thing. I think if we get to the point where we need to have our own like content for classes and so on,
Hmm.
we're gonna do whatever makes it comfortable to
Yeah.
get that thing going. Like if we want to be at a place and for one day we're shooting 5, 6 videos and it needs, a cooled area that way we can be comfortable and do that, then it makes sense. But right now, when we're doing these barbecue classes, the first one we're doing, the next one is we're doing Weber kettle, drum smokers, and backyard offsets. It's not about the fancy. It's not about, like being like the others. What we're trying to do is just backyard. So
Yeah.
whatever it takes for us to accomplish the content and the education for the everyday man,
Hmm.
that's what we're gonna do. And if
Yeah.
it comes to the point where we need to put it professionally, then we'll figure out a way how to put it professionally. But man, I still want it backyard.
Yeah.
I still want it backyard. Like when we were planning this class, I was literally saying, "Bro, we can do it in my backyard."
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And then we had to just kind of understand that okay, we're talking about bringing more people than the amount that can comfortably fit in my backyard, and so we're
Yeah. You're getting into Fire Marshal Dave being upset with
yeah.
you territory, depending on how many people you're drawing, I guess.
Right, exactly. So we kind of have to just it's a business decision because then this is we're looking at it business wise, and we have to be professional, and we have to make sure that the audience is comfortable and we have
Hmm.
enough air and ventilation and we can take care of people that way. But man, it has to be the backyard. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that's where the people are at. You know what I mean? That's where you're
Yeah.
gonna go hang out with your friends. That's where you're gonna be spending Fourth of July. You're not going to you're not gonna go cook on the beach or some
Yeah.
fancy studio because you saw the creator do it. It's all about your backyard. That's where the
Yeah.
love is.
Well, I mean, and you're a testament to that. I mean, could be the front yard too, though. In your
Right.
defense, because trying the snake in the front yard of a neighbor's house. So backyard, front yard, potato, potato. Um, so creating content, deciding to be a content creator. You made the jump about a year ago, a little over a year ago, to doing just this, and you've made it. You've arrived. You feel like, or do you still have more work to do? Obviously, you're not a light work type dude. Just watching your content. I think I follow you on all five platforms. Um, so you're putting in the work. Do you feel like you have arrived? And with the caveat of where do we go from here? Are you going somewhere else from here, outside of what we've spoken about so far?
So I don't think I've arrived because the work is still not done. You know what I mean? The journey is only finished when there's no more questions to answer,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can give you a clear example. Every single time I post about the snake method, it is one of my videos that get the most interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's somebody saying that's going to give you cancer, or somebody saying I've used this 50 times, or somebody said, I've never thought of that. Now I'm going to go
Yeah.
buy a Weber kettle.
Yeah.
Then if we still have that wide base of reactions throughout any piece of content or in any space that you are, then it has to continue. It's just like in any other field. if there's more questions to be answered, more research to be done, you still got to keep doing it. So
Mhm.
I don't think I've arrived. I think now I know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
right? I think now I understand my position. I understand what is like that purpose that I have, that I need to reach people this way with barbecue. But as far as arrived, now we I think that would be unwise of me to say I've arrived. I think there's so much more work to be done.
Yeah.
Even when I create Jamaican food content, like my jerk seasoning video, that video got 2 million views the first time I posted it. A month later, exactly 30 days, I posted it again. It got 2.7 million views, but it wasn't because 2 million people loved how I make the seasoning. The interaction is what drives it. And so there's still a lot of questions, and there's
Mhm.
still Jamaicans who are saying, like, cinnamon doesn't go in a seasoning, or, dry rubs aren't good, they don't have flavor. And so there's always this constant need for us to educate and entertain, in along the way of what we want to bring to the masses, because there's so many people to reach, man.
Yeah. So you've arrived in a sense of, you've gotten the platform large enough to where it sustains you, and but there's still so much more to do, and there's so many more people to educate. And I mean, the amount of people to educate, I mean, yeah, you spend a lifetime doing so.
Yeah,
And you've arrived in the standpoint of, now I've got a big enough platform to where I can reach even more people, and I can teach even more people,
yeah.
and just continue growing what you've started growing. And I mean, it's pretty much, it's grown to how many followers you up to now?
Right now, on all platforms combined, over 450,000.
Yeah. So I mean, like, you're closing in on a half a million people that you impact,
Hmm.
and I mean, you've done that in a relatively quick fashion, but the it is not the one, to be a little crude here. You didn't have a Hawk Tuah video,
Yeah,
and now you're cooking with Kunchi. You
yeah,
have you have put the work in and done the work, but it's still relatively quickly. I mean, obviously, inside of about a year, give or take, you
hmm,
have created, and kind of like, you've kind of always done the cooking stuff over the course of the years that I've known you, but like, you put your mind to it, and inside of a year, you are cooking with a Kunchi, and you are almost 500,000, you know, barbecue lovers strong.
yeah,
And now you're writing books and creating spice rub to, obviously, to bottle and sell to the public.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I guess I mean, is the book, is the spice, is that more of education, or is that branching out on your brand itself?
So the book is all about education. The book is a physical representation, and we're gonna have hard copy, soft copy, and hardcover, paperback, and ebook. Right? It is a physical representation of everything that there is to know about fire management.
Hmm.
Okay,
To known to date.
today I will die on this hill that unless you know how to run your fire or to run your smoker, you will forever be chasing whatever recipe you want to nail. And so the the vision behind it is to is to be able to say to somebody, here, this is how you can start.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's all in one, covering all the different methods, all the different backyard pits from a Weber kettle all the way to live fire, right?
Hmm.
It is really just strictly about educating whoever is interested in the craft. The
Hmm.
seasonings, the seasonings is, and I don't know if you and I have had this conversation, but many people have asked me before, like, what about a rub? When are you coming out with rubs? And I had no interest in doing that, right?
Yeah.
But you guys see, I make the videos, right? I make tons of videos coming up with my own spice rub and sharing and be like, hey, go try that. And I
Hmm.
promise you, dude, I get so many comments, direct messages. Like, there are times when I make a batch just because like 10 people has asked me like, bro, I cannot get it like you. Can you just send me a little bit? And I
Yeah.
and I've done that a couple times. And so now what I'm realizing is that there is a need for this stuff, and I have the opportunity and the ability
Hmm.
to put this out to the masses. I have had a lot of help from people in the industry, like folks over at Hey Grill Hey, and the folks over at Whiskey Bent Barbecue, and these people like jumping in and helping me, even though before that we didn't have like a personal relationship.
Hmm.
So that stuff is kind of like just putting that on autopilot for me, because besides, before like the last 3 months, this was not a thing, and on my radar. But necessity wise, it is necessary now. It makes sense now because,
Hmm.
okay, people are asking me for this. Not
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was entitled to go make my own rubs just because I'm creating content. That
Yeah.
that didn't happen for me, because again, I'm not just like a viral sensation. My
Hmm.
goal is to be a staple in the
Yeah.
in the business of barbecue, not the barbecue business, but the business of barbecue, where we're trying to bring people into this,
Yeah.
and that's what it is, man. So yes, the education, and because of the demand that I've been getting.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, you said the business of barbecue, not barbecue business.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of interesting to put it that way. And being a content creator, and you kind of have a switch in a way, from as far as like the people that you surround yourself with. You find yourself surrounded with different people, 12 months from now, or 12
Hmm.
months ago, people that you had no, you may have watched their content, but now,
Yep.
you're friends with them.
Yep.
Like me, I got a buddy, he does this Cooking with Kunchi, real cool dude. I didn't used to know him, and now he's in my circle. So seeing your circle change from like as a content creator, I've been kind of, little personal note here, for your YouTube guys. You guys can go to the bathroom right quick. But like, I've been in the car business for almost 5 years, and I have recently had a couple of guys that left the car business that kind of were my mentors when I got into the car business. And I was like, you know what? Let me call those guys, and I called all three guys, and just checking on them, and just they're in my circle now, because apparently I'm a car guy now. In addition to barbecue stuff, apparently I'm a car guy. Apparently you're a barbecue guy, so you have to, you surround yourself with people in that space, because those people hear opportunities and put
Hmm.
you on different opportunities that you wouldn't have beforehand. So I mean, from that standpoint, you see your world kind of shift. And I'm not sure what I'm doing with my hands here. Um, I'm getting into it. I'm getting talking. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but you're seeing your world kind of shift and kind of change, um, with the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Uh, what do you see as far as like a community there? Because you have the community that's trying to learn, but then you have the community there that is trying to teach. And do you find yourself, because obviously when you first started, you were trying to learn, and you were
Hmm.
watching guys like you, and now you're doing what those guys were doing. Well, I mean, thoughts on that?
So the space where people want to learn, I think it mirrors what we see on the internet.
Hmm.
It mirrors a guy that is very good winning some barbecue competitions or doing stuff, teaching people how to barbecue, but competition style. Now, just a disclaimer, right? Life disclaimer. I don't hate barbecue competitions. I hate what the competitions have done to the backyard, right? It has turned everything into like a glamour shot and time and
Hmm.
temperature, and there's there's not enough love into
Hmm.
what you do, and just like attention, to this part, the love of it, the just the process,
Hmm.
basically. Like when I share stuff and I'm sharing a process, but somebody's like, what's the recipe? And I'm like, man, I don't care about the damn recipe. Like, I'm showing you this. Just
Yeah.
pay attention to what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
so now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I gotta get my website is being rebuilt, because now there's a need. People are asking me for recipes, and I can't
Hmm.
necessarily alienate those people, but I still have to remain focused on the process. So
Yeah.
I think the competition style of teaching people how to barbecue, I don't like that. And when you go, like I did a class last weekend, and people were literally, I'm seasoning the meat, and people were like, you don't put anything on the meat? But I mean, you see me doing it and not putting anything on there. Like, we
Yeah.
don't have to do any of that stuff. We don't have to do any of the fancy stuff. Of course, if you really need to learn, you need a starting point. So if that's your
Hmm.
starting point, cool. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's the best starting point for people to learn, because that's when I looked on the internet, that's all I saw. That's the
Yeah.
only thing that you were able to take reference from. And I think there needs to be more people who are backyard oriented, just regular barbecue, just helping people learn how to cook.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you mentioned, the competitions, the glory, the beautiful shots, but from a standpoint of creating content, um, versus doing what you're doing in the backyard. Because I mean, I'm sure you've eaten something that's like, well, that's delicious. It's ugly, but it sure is
Hmm.
delicious. You eat
Yep.
with your eyes, so the content creators that blaze the path for people like you and Hey Girl Hey and all these others, they were creating pretty barbecue because
Hmm.
you couldn't taste it, and you couldn't wrap your mind around what it tasted like. So you had to visually, it had to be visually appealing.
Yeah.
So in a point, to a point, I guess you should say, the the competition barbecue was the original barbecue content that everybody was doing, because you can't taste it. But
Yeah.
now you guys are, I say you guys, you and all your friends are bottling your rubs and sauces and now we can taste it and we can experience what we're experiencing with our eyes, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, a gorgeous, picture perfect brisket, or picture perfect pork butt, or whatever it may be that you're cooking, because you can still experience what you're experiencing on the screen in your own backyard now.
Hmm. That's real, right? That's realistically, we're taking the lead from those who kind of started it all, showing us all the pretty stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you where my disconnect came is when I did YouTube. I did all of that, right? I did all the
Hmm.
fancy stuff, the pretty plating, bought all the plates and the lazy Susans to spin the plate on the screen, and did all that. But because that wasn't me naturally, I didn't flourish doing that, right?
Yeah.
And so when I thought about that, I was like, maybe there are other people out there who are just like, man, it doesn't have to be all fancy and stuff like that. So when I
Yeah.
created that video, and then people in the comments are like, hell yeah, man, we don't need to spritz nothing, or you don't need to glaze everything up and all of that. I was like, man, I found my people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so now, like, there are certain things. There's some things where you'll see they'll look pretty.
Yeah.
Sometimes what's up, Frank? Sometimes we'll glaze up some ribs, right? Because my daughter loves barbecue sauce, so cool, we'll do that. Sometimes I'll show them how pretty the brisket looks and all of that. But a vast majority of my content, it's kind of like it's all about the grill and the method and the process,
Hmm.
because I just really feel like that is so important. And people try to call me out for that, like, you're not a real chef. You don't tell people time and temp. But I'm not a chef though, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with that because I came into this knowing I'm not that
Yeah.
guy, right? I wasn't classically trained, so I don't try to do all the things to make me look like somebody I'm not.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I was told this recently, that you can't be all things for all people. And that is exactly how I'm going to just continue to live. I can't be all things to all people. People that rock
yeah.
with me are going to rock with me regardless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's 500,000 of them so far, pretty close to 500,000 of them that are rocking with you.
Yeah. Right.
Side caveat, I just realized, because you said the lazy Susan, so you get the barbecue spin.
Yeah.
Just freaking dawned on me that I have a lazy Susan, because I shoot that stupid shot, and I'm like, holy crap, holy crap.
Man,
I don't know
I
if you saw it in my
remember.
eyes when you said lazy Susan getting the spin shot. I was like, he's talking about me.
Man,
I
I'm telling you,
literally,
man,
I
I've done so many things, bro. Talking about the boom arm. I remember when I bought a C arm to get the pretty shot from above.
hmm
I mean, to set up the camera, so that takes 15 minutes to get that lined up, and then to go down for a 10-second shot. And then I've bought all the lights. Like, I think about a year and a half ago, I just got rid of everything, gave it away, sold some stuff on Marketplace, because I was like, I will never be this guy who's
yeah,
gonna do this. And so it's just one of the things where, if somebody's trying to learn how to create content or to get into content, the best thing I can say is do it how you can do it until you
hmm
can do it better,
yeah.
right?
Well,
Because
and then to a point, I mean, you don't even need to grow to the guy having the boom camera operator, because I mean, you're just, once you figure out you get where you are, where your content, I guess, catches up to who you are, and you find your people. Um, there's not really any need to continue putting more varnish on your
yeah,
ribs or
right.
anything crazy like that. I've kind of seen that my personally, like with this podcast, like it's kind of over the last probably year, it's kind of changed a little bit, and you get more of my hands, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my hands in the content, just because it's kind of who I am. I'm a little bit, a little bit animated sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's my content is going in that direction, and I'm nowhere near the famous guy that Cookin Wid Kunchi is, but I'm growing and kind of trying to figure out my content, and my fans and people figure out who it is that I am, and kind of some folks will fall off, some people will see it and be picked up.
Hmm.
You seeing the same thing with your content. As you're more authentic. You're probably one of the most authentic content guys that is out there, you know,
Thank you, man.
in the game currently.
Thank you.
Um, and I mean, the good thing about that is you don't have to pretend to be anybody else. When the camera light turns on,
Yep.
that's just him. That's just how he is. That's you know what you're going to get from this guy, and you're comfortable with it, right?
Yep. So I've had people ask me to why don't you talk more Jamaican in your videos, or why don't you do this in your video, or how come you don't have a catchphrase or something like that? I'm like, I don't walk around saying one phrase the whole day, dude. And
Yeah,
I can't pretend to be that and then just like shut it off later.
yeah,
There's this, and yesterday a guy messaged me and he was like, I can't believe you're saying the person cooking with the onion and the paprika on the charcoal is doing something stupid. And I think that's offensive to people. And I said, obviously you have not watched my content for some time, right? Because
yeah,
we can agree that you're allowed to like anything you want to like,
hmm,
but it doesn't mean that it's great or it's right. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Or that anybody else have to like it. Like, I don't like that. And I'm telling my audience that I don't like that.
yeah,
That's not wrong to communicate how I feel about anything. Now, you
yeah,
might not like my tone, but okay, it's cool, man. Like, I'm not here to like make you happy with my tone. That's not the point. If you get the substance from my content, and if you want to take the dose of me that you get with it, then that's cool. And I'm okay with not being all things to everybody. I'm 100% okay with that.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, who is it offensive? Offensive to onions and paprika,
Like,
or
isn't it offensive to be burning the onions and the paprika on the
yeah,
charcoal, thinking you're gonna get flavor in your food? I don't
yeah,
know.
uh,
That
yeah.
offends me
Well, the onion does smell good for a little bit of
a
time.
little
Whenever
bit.
you like, you
Yep.
throw the onion on the charcoal, and I've smelled it. I've been around the
Mhm.
competitions, the competition
Yeah.
scene, and they do that,
Right.
and
It
that's what they've
smells good.
seen,
Yeah.
and it's what they're doing and what they're seeing, and I'm talking from the competition standpoint, like what the competition guys are doing, like they do it because they're trying to stay on a timeline. They're trying to do this. They're trying to create this experience for the judges. And
Mm.
I feel like the whole mustard thing kind of started with competition barbecue because they've got to have the same amount of rub stick to the meat. So they create a singular surface with the mustard, but necessarily, is it the same? No, it's probably not. And like I've got a good buddy of mine out in Texas. He is a religious. I was out in his restaurant, and he does mustard on the ribs every single time, and he does that because that is the flavor that the people fell in love with, and
Yeah.
he recreates that. And
Hmm.
is it a necessary step? Probably not, but in his
Right.
mind, this is how I made the perfect barbecue, and I'm striving to do the perfect barbecue. And now he's in Colonel Mustard's and his cronies' pocket, spending money on mustard when he doesn't necessarily have to.
Yeah.
Um, but
I think if that is what consistency means to you, great. And I don't have a problem with anybody using mustard. If I come to your house and you slather mustard on the ribs or on the brisket and you serve it to me, I'm going to eat it. And I'm
mhm,
going to taste the mustard, and I'm not going to say, "Man, I'm not coming back because you put mustard on it." That's not the level where we're at. The
yeah,
what where we're at with the mustard is, I'm just saying, like, you don't got to do that, bro.
yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
but in that same breath, though, you don't have to do mustard to create great barbecue. Great barbecue started with what? Salt, pepper, a little bit of lemon. But now
Hmm.
we got guys like you putting paprika and cinnamon in the seasoning blends. You don't need to do cinnamon. Kunchi's a liar. Everybody, Kunchi's a liar. You don't need paprika and onion powder and
Paprika.
garlic. Go back to the basics. Salt, pepper, a little bit of lemon juice.
Yeah,
Roll that smoke.
that's
So
it.
it's a whatever you're consistent, you're creating your barbecue. Your whatever your consistent is your consistent. Like
Hmm.
when I started cooking barbecue, like I bought a, little high dollar sprayer that I used 3 times, and the third time I forgot to wash it out. Then it got moldy. Then I threw it away, and I don't spritz barbecue anymore because I forgot to
You
to clean
forgot to,
out my spritzer. I just don't spritz barbecue anymore. I was like, the next
right?
time I was like, oh, this thing's gross. I'm not using it on this particular cook. Sat down, cooked. After it cooked, ate it. Nobody said anything. They were like, "Hey, you didn't spritz the barbecue today. It tastes different." There was not enough difference in my house in my backyard for me to
Yeah,
continue spritzing barbecue. So I don't spritz barbecue no more. Same thing
man.
with the mustard. Like when I very started, I started out, I'm watching the Pitmasters TV show, and I'm like, oh, I guess I got to put mustard on it. And then
Hmm.
I made too many sandwiches. I ran out of mustard, and I needed a rack of ribs. Guess what? Didn't put mustard on them. Sat down. Nobody said, damn, there's no mustard on these ribs. I don't do mustard on ribs anymore.
Man.
So
Yeah, I wonder if many people have gone through it this way, because this is how it happened for me. One day I forgot the mustard, and then I was just like, all right, just whatever. The seasoning didn't fall off, So if this is me. If you cannot answer my question, then I do not believe that you have the information,
mhm.
right? And I think a lot of us struggle with saying I don't know.
Yeah,
When people try to convince me how, spritzing and evaporative cooling and, like, whatever this thing is. Okay, I did not do it this way that you said needed it, and my
yeah,
pulled pork is juicy as hell, then I can eliminate that.
yeah,
And so that's the place, where I come from. It's like, you cannot convince, there's nothing you can tell me to convince me that this is so good that you need to do it tomorrow again.
hmm
And
yeah,
and so I really, it's just a logic thing for me, man. I just, if it doesn't need it, don't mess with it. And when it came down to teaching people how I do these things, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, the less steps I got to tell you, the more success you're going to have, because you're not focused on, oh, am I going to miss a step here, or am I going
right,
to do this? So that's really the root of me sticking to those things, because people need simple,
yeah,
they need it. And so
okay.
we don't got to
So,
complicate putting seasonings
so
on.
salt, pepper, and lemon. That's what's going on the ribs tonight, right?
Salt, pepper, and lemon. We could do that, bro. I can eat like that all day. I'm to that point
Hey,
now. I'm so comfortable with salt and pepper. it's funny. Like I'm grinding my own peppers, like my peppercorn. Man, I'm roasting my own jalapenos and making chipotle powder. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very comfortable with not doing anything crazy and getting flavor. Like having people come over and eat a brisket with just salt and pepper and ask you like, man, what is that?
Yeah.
Some guys were doing work on my house one time and I did some ribs outside, just filming a video. And when, I had them come down and everybody got a rib and it was literally salt and pepper. And the guy was like, just sazon. And it was a Mexican dude, man. I'm like, it's just salt and pepper, dude. And he was like, what? It's like, you taste the meat. People don't love meat. I don't think a lot of these people love meat. They love maple syrup and whatever else they want to put on the meat, man. Because I just love the meat, dude. That's me.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so funny because you do the content creation, and the deeper that you go into the content creation, you alluded to it a second ago. You're making your own chipotle powder. That's not something that you would have done, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right?
Right. These are things that I'm learning and wanting to try and wanting to experience. And when I'm thinking about flavors, this is how I understand what I want to add to my flavor or what I think could change something from basic, right? So most of the rubs on the market is salt, pepper, garlic base, right? And some paprika, and then maybe some rosemary or whatever it is. Like one of the most popular seasoning companies right now, one of their biggest selling rubs is salt, pepper, garlic, paprika. Really crazy to me because, okay, you're tasting salt, pepper, and garlic, right? I'm gonna die on this other hill that paprika is just red. That's it. But now I'm to the point where like, all right, so what if I add chipotle powder, right?
Yeah.
And maybe change the pepper to cayenne, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or another pepper, but something different and give it like a different twang. And now you have a whole new flavor. But to just come out with another salt, pepper, and garlic, paprika rub, just because, I'm a world championship pit master or internet sensation or whatever, I don't think that's genuine to the community. So I'm constantly doing things like I'm drying orange peel and grinding it and putting in rubs and seeing like what this does, using those things in sauces and see what it does, and sharing those experiences with everybody and just say, hey, try it, right? It's not basic. It's not your basic, but it's simple enough where it might work for you.
Yeah. Man, we've spent about an hour hanging out, chatting.
Holy cow.
We've talked about all the stuff that's coming up. Do you have anything that's just pressing on your brain that you wanted to talk about? With the caveat, we can take a short break and 30, 45 second break and hit it another again for another 20, 30 minutes. Or do you want to pull the station on into the train depot and have a third episode?
Oh, we can chit chat a little bit. We can take a break and we can chit chat some more if you got time.
All right, guys, we're going to throw the brand speaker, the brand logos up, and once those go through, we'll be back. And we are back. We are back.
Yep.
So, content creation has kind of elevated your food at your house, right?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
um, I mean, because the Chipotle powder homemade is, I would almost classify as a little bit extreme.
Hmm.
Um, Not necessarily something that everybody can get in their backyard, right?
Right. Exactly.
So, um, but it's one of those. It's something that somebody could do for the weekend for themselves in their backyard, but it's not something necessarily that is, hey, make this rub. Make sure you put your homemade chipotle powder in it,
Hmm.
but they can still get chipotle powder. But you're
Yes.
elevating your food at your house. Is there a point to where the food is too fancy?
Um, I don't make that. So I don't make food at my house that is just way way too much because
Hmm.
I don't want to do the work. So I've tried recipes, and there are recipes that I've filmed, and in that recipe I'm like, I will never do this again.
Yeah,
Right? For example, I saw somebody do uh jalapeno popper chicken bombs. Okay. And we got the
yeah.
chicken, we pounded it out, and then you got to so you got to stuff the jalapeno, right? And then you got to wrap the jalapeno with the chicken. Then you got to wrap that with bacon. And
Hmm.
it was one of the most time consuming things that I've ever attempted.
Yeah,
And delicious, right? The
yeah,
recipe was a banger. The food was good, but we're not doing that again. Like,
yeah,
and my family knows they're not gonna ask me to do that again because I said we are not doing that. If it's sold
yeah,
somewhere, we'll go buy it. But
yeah.
it's just one of those things. I love to try different things. So, for example, I love going out to eat, but I'm going out to eat sushi or other Asian cuisines like Vietnamese cuisine or Korean food or something like that. That's different. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I also try to keep some things, like a unicorn because I don't know, if you have kids and you take your kids out to barbecue after you've been creating barbecue, now you realize that you've ruined a barbecue restaurant for your kids, right? And
Yeah.
so it's it kind of limits it limits
I'm there.
what you can go out to eat. You know what I mean? And so now I've done a couple seafood fries in the backyard and seafood boils, and now you go to a seafood restaurant and it's like, well, this doesn't, or this
This
doesn't
is
taste like that, and this
this is
doesn't.
greasy, or
And
there's
I'm
no
just like,
flavor
come
in
on,
this
man.
breading.
Yeah, like, and so I understand the difference in quality that I'm gonna get, but my kids don't. And
Yeah.
so for that reason, like when we go now and I've tried to make pho at home, you know, and we've done some ramen bowls, and it's cool. But I don't want when I go now and take my kids out for a nice day, like say, whatever day, like my birthday, for example. I
Hmm.
don't think I've ever done that. But when we go out, I want my kids to be like, this doesn't taste like dad's food. You know what I mean? I want us to be able to enjoy certain things. So I don't make a
Yeah.
lot of Italian food. Certain things that I know that, like, okay, we're going to go out and do that and then be
Yeah.
okay with that. And
Yeah.
dad doesn't have to ruin that. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
do too fancy, and I do not do anything that I don't think you can replicate.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. I want people to replicate it.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of your brand. It's a relatable brand, right? So I mean, if you've got to butcher a fish a particular way to be able to make a particular sushi without making everybody deathly ill, like that's not a skill that you can do in your backyard. So
No.
you can keep enjoying sushi out
Yep.
at the local spot, right?
Yep.
Um, but it's the content that your people that your audience expects, right?
Hmm.
Um, with a little caveat here and there, something a little crazy, like making the homemade chipotle powder, or whatever it may be, like just something a little bit outside the box, but still barbecue adjacent, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you see your content with mention of barbecue adjacent, like? Because there are things that are barbecue adjacent, like, but that's the reason that the the Jamaican and the barbecue marry so well, is because they're adjacent to one another. Like, I don't know which one's more barbecue, but they're barbecue adjacent. Do you see creating more barbecue adjacent content, with the caveat of, like this particular podcast, we haven't cooked the first thing of barbecue. Now, I do have burn-in hot dogs going currently on the side, and I know how much you love burn-in hot dogs. But barbecue adjacent content, um, do you see it kind of branching out into more of a cooking with Kunchi, but also living with Kunchi brand, or is it going to remain just kind of cooking?
So I do think that I do a little bit of barbecue adjacent stuff, and I think it has a place. I think it's relevant in the space where sometimes people want to switch it up. So I I'm thinking of doing like a how Kunchi eats kind of thing, like going out to restaurants
Hmm.
and doing stuff like that. I think my biggest drawback to that part is unless it's putting serious money in my pocket where it's going to help me do all this traveling to get all that content done, then
Hmm.
does it really make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
on my brain right now, I'm thinking about doing that because, traveling and experience different cuisines and different types of foods is really my thing. I'm really just a guy that chases flavor,
Yeah.
right?
Your flavor, you're a flavor seeker, kind
Yeah.
of like you got, the crazy pain seekers or the adrenaline junkies. You're a,
Hmm.
you're a flavor addict.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm doing. So, yeah, some barbecue adjacent content might be coming,
Hmm.
and um, with some traveling planned for next year surrounding Backyard Barbecue Academy. That could be a
Hmm.
thing that we incorporate. But we'll see how it is. I still love
Yeah.
cooking backyard,
Yeah.
um, but man, I just love eating. So if my doctor allows me, then I can do more barbecue adjacent
Hey,
foods.
well, good news. I'll have hot dog burn-ins fresh off the smoker real soon. But I mentioned the barbecue adjacent. I mentioned barbecue adjacent content because your full-time job is a content creator. You create content, and it is in
Mhm.
your lane. It is what you do. It is how you do your content, is a one particular way. But if you start branching off and doing a bunch of other stuff that is barbecue adjacent, yes, in your regular jobs, like everybody's 9 to 5, they have their what they do for a living,
Mhm.
and sometimes they go to the water cooler and they chat about such and such, or sometimes they go to lunch with so and so and they talk for 30 or 40 minutes longer after their break is. But most people in a regular 9 to 5 job, or 9 to 9 in my case, we don't typically seek out more work. But
Mhm.
what you're doing as a content creator, is doing more barbecue adjacent stuff, doing the rubs and sauces, doing the book. You're seeking out more work
Yep.
in your job, right?
Yep.
I kind of liken it to like it's if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Like you
Exactly.
feel like at this point you're probably not working. You know, you're enjoying what you're doing, right? And I
So
see. Go ahead.
I'm I'm enjoying it a lot, and I think a lot of times the reason why I don't do more things or more different things is because I don't need another project. You know, I got so many things like happening right now, and we're like, okay, this thing's about to explode. All right, this thing is going good. Let's grow this. But wait, look at that thing. They call
Yeah,
that squirrel brain. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It's like looking for the shiny thing, right?
So I I know that there's a lot of shiny objects out there, and you know I see so much potential in everything. Like I'm very optimistic, and I see so much opportunity everywhere. But I still have to kind of just be mindful and be like, okay, my family doesn't need me to take on another project right now because this
Right.
might take me away from home, you know, a couple more
Yeah,
times than I want to. And
yeah,
going back to Reggae Spice, that was kind of the thing. It's like when I quit my full time job and I was like, you know, I really just don't want to do that. I want to do this thing. And so I
yeah,
came home and I was, you know, trying to be like husband at home all the time. And then I went and took that job. And then I was like gone 2, 3 weeks every month, just far with a long drive or flight or whatever it is.
yeah,
And it wasn't speaking to me
yeah,
and how I wanted to like go through this stage of my life, you know, with kids growing up and just realizing how short life really is and all of the things that come along with that. So
yeah,
I don't know. Well, I'll get another project when I think it's appropriate, probably.
yeah. Well, and that's kind of what I was getting into with the barbecue adjacent stuff. Like you can do more stuff and seek out more jobs, but does it at some point does it turn into something that's a little bit different?
Mhm.
Like with Harry Sue, for example. Like Harry Sue, everybody knows, was on Pitmasters season 1 and number one first place chicken, and started creating his own content. And when I met him back in 2019, he and I were roommates, and he was talking about, he was doing his YouTube stuff, and he was literally filming it with his cell phone and. Uh, at the current listening, he's still filming with the same equipment, but he has transitioned from his full time job into being full time content creator because he retired from his IT job, but now it is more than just Harry Sue cooking barbecue. It is Harry Sue like all of his life experiences. Like it is not necessarily, it's not home life necessarily, but it is, him hopping on planes, him walking through airports, him meeting new people and experiencing everything that way. And like his audience has kind of like followed, followed as he's made that turn. And
Yeah.
I liken it to like sales guys when they get into the car business. You teach somebody how to sell, and I'm not going to get into how you sell a car, how you sell anything, but like being a salesperson, they teach you a way and a path to accomplish your goal of selling something, right? What you're selling is you, and you're obviously really good at it. And the young people, when they get into sales, they get a couple of sales and they get some popularity, and they get some, they're starting gaining followers, so to
Mhm.
speak, to collaborate the both. But like they get into it to a point and they go, boy, I'm really good at selling. And some content creators go, man, I'm really good at content creating. Let me go start doing this. They start doing something completely different, and they don't get the same result. but you kind of you're staying the course and you're not changing it because it works, right?
This works, and it makes me happy, right? When I get a direct message from somebody saying like, dude, I just smoked my first brisket. Look at it. Thanks for all the tips and everything. That's a good day for me. Like
Yeah,
that, like, because that's the goal. The
yeah,
goal is to get you from zero and get you to where you're comfortable cooking on any grill that you have. It doesn't matter what brand I got and what brand you got. If you and I can, like, just get to the point where you can invite me over for dinner, I can invite you over for dinner, and we're both gonna eat good food.
hmm,
That's okay, man. I'm happy with that. So I'm comfortable, man. I say no to a lot of opportunities these days.
yeah,
I say no to a lot of emails. I say no to a lot of brand opportunities because it just doesn't suit me. The money
hmm,
could be great. I don't know. Right? I could get with an agency and have them negotiate deals for me, but am I going to am I do I really like that product, or was this just for the dollar? Like some of that has to be in there, right? You got to make some money, you got to
yeah,
earn a living, take care of your family. I get that part, but like for me personally, this is just what I love. I love helping
yeah,
people. I love seeing their results, and I love that I can help you get to that point. That's it. That's my drug right there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my drug.
Well, yeah. I mean, and you're fortunate because you found what you love to do, and people like what you like to do. They like to watch what you like to do, right? So like you're creating your content is, I mean, it's essentially like you're just, yeah, if you had somebody just following you along around with a video camera all day, people would watch it.
This is what I do.
So, any new upcoming projects that we've not talked about? The book we've talked about, the seasoning we've talked about, um, with the classes with I'm going to butcher the name. West, is it West Texas?
North Texas.
North Texas, with North Texas barbecue addicts. Um, Anything else that you can fit on your plate without having to get a second plate?
No. So as of right now, that's that's where we're at. Tur Getting cookinwidkunchi.com built out into the space where everybody can come through and they can get recipes and they can get the blogs about different things that I talk about. That's that's the newest thing that I'm working on right now for the audience. Thank you, Maria. I appreciate you. But taking Cooking with Kunchi on the road and to be able to touch people individually and show them physically what I do, I think that would be, and it's something that I've been asked to do so many times for so
Hmm.
long. But like I said, now it makes sense because
Yeah,
I think people jump into a lot of things when it's not necessarily for you right now. It could be a
yeah,
thing, right? Like I have merch on my websites currently, and it's not even something that I really push because like right now, I don't know if right now is the time,
hmm,
and it's cool. Like I don't have a bunch of boxes of shirts and stuff, sitting on in my house. So I'm fortunate that way
yeah,
to to be in a position where I can, all right, let me do print on demand and we'll work on that. And if it goes, it goes. But
yeah,
I do things when they are right,
yeah,
and right now, going on the road and talking to people and getting to build that community out, of backyard and hopefully inspire other people to go help somebody learn how to barbecue as well, right?
Yeah.
I could be inspiring the next set of content creators or barbecue educators. You know what I mean? Like that's the part of the business of barbecue that I think I want to have a spot in growing that part of barbecue, and that's what we're working on. So nothing
Yeah.
crazy new on the plate right now. The website, the spices, the classes, the collaborations that I'm working on with B&B Charcoal and all of that stuff. I just can't wait to build all of that stuff out, show everybody, and appreciate everybody for believing in me and hanging out with me, and almost 500,000 followers everywhere. I think this is going to be a good time.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Uh, do you put, and this may be more personal than you want to get into, and you might have to edit it out. Who knows? But you say you don't do. You've been asked several times to go on the road, and you've had opportunities presented to you, and you didn't do them because you didn't feel like it was the right time. Did it? Was it more of you didn't feel like you were good enough for them, or you didn't believe that they were legitimate opportunities, or they didn't fit who you wanted to be, or was it more of a personal like I'm nowhere near cool enough to do this?
No. So, one of the biggest things that I have, one of the best compliments that I've been getting a lot lately is about my delivery of the information. Okay.
Hmm.
So, like I said before, my YouTube, I don't think it took off because I didn't know how to deliver the information. Right. And so, learning how to deliver on the internet and learning how to deliver on different platforms, and then now stepping into delivering that information in front of people. Now I'm comfortable enough to say, okay, I can go do this and deliver this information in an effective way that's going to move the community, going to move the
Yeah.
needle. And again, I don't know if every opportunity that has come my way has been genuine. I know there has been some non-genuine things put in front of me. You see
Yeah.
it every day when you're in this space. Like you get that email, "Oh my god, we love your content. We have sunglasses." That has nothing to do with me. You know,
Yeah.
like
It does me though. Call
right? It
call me.
does. Call Wes because he's the sunglasses guy. But I think a lot of people, they want to just throw things at you, and it could be for a
Yeah.
personal reason for them, and it could be genuine. I don't know, but
Yeah.
if inside of me it doesn't feel real and genuine, I don't know. It's probably not going to happen. I've had
Yeah.
people say to me like, "Dude, we'll put your name on a restaurant. You don't even have to show up, right? You just
Yeah.
have to do this thing."
There's
And,
there's
and
one of
I'm
those in
like,
Virginia. We won't mention that, but there's one of those
right,
in Virginia.
and I was just like, "What? I'm not doing that, bro." And then those people never talk to me again. So,
Yeah.
like now, but that's the only way you know if it's genuine. Is a lot of times you just got to say no to it. You know what I mean? And you got people come around like, "Hey, man, what do you think about this now?" Because
Yeah.
now you're in this position, and you kind of understand when people take an interest in you as a person. And
Hmm.
then now I'm knowledgeable enough where I can discern, what's
Yeah.
genuine and what's not. And I know enough people that I can pick up the phone and call somebody and say, "Hey, you know this person, what do you think about this?" And this is what they're saying, and so on. So yes, my circle is growing as far as people that want to do the same thing, but my
Hmm.
circle is also growing in the fact that there are people who I can rely on for certain information and
Yeah.
certain guidance. And that's important too, because I know nothing about this space,
Yeah.
or I don't know enough about this space to swim alone. And so that's why
Yeah.
collaborations are important. Getting to meet the right people is important. Saying yes to certain things, and no to others. Just, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. So it was more of you wanted to make sure that you had figured out how to use your voice in these platforms and to be able to convey the message that you have in here to get it out and to get it out in the proper way, more
Yes.
so than you didn't trust them or it just you didn't feel worthy of such accolades and that sort of
Correct.
thing. And sometimes some of the stuff is just bonkers crazy. It's like that doesn't make any sense whatsoever,
Hmm.
for you to offer me something stupid like that. And you have to learn to say no to stupid shiny stuff because sometimes shiny stuff is nothing more than tinfoil.
Yep.
Um,
True.
and we're not going to get into wrapping ribs and wrapping brisket with tinfoil or paper, but um,
Okay.
your circle is like for somebody looking to become uh, the next viral sensation slash the next content creator. Like viral sensation to me, yes, you had some viral hits, but you are a content creator. You're not a one video one trick pony. You've
Hmm.
created the platform that's on all the platforms. You've created your community around that, and somebody that's starting out, like you would say, surround yourself with people that are going the way you want to go, or blaze your own path and just work in your own space until somebody figures out, oh look, this guy's doing such and such, and I like that.
I would tell the person looking at my content and be like, man, I want to get to that point.
Hmm.
I would tell everybody, and I do this every day with myself. You see what this person has, okay, you want that. Are you willing to do what it takes to get that?
Hmm.
Right? Like you see somebody making really good money running restaurants. Cars are nice, the house is nice, the publicity is nice. Do you want that headache? Do you want that bill at the end of
Yeah.
the month? Right? Do you want that tax bill every 90 days? Like you have to figure out what you want, and you got to be willing to do all of the things.
Hmm.
So, um, you know, my growth has been fairly short in a short time,
Yeah.
but I've had to put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
So when I started on TikTok, when I found out how to use TikTok and I started, I was putting out 3 to 5 videos a day. Okay. And then I did that consistently for a while. And then when I decided, you know what, I'm going to take on Instagram and TikTok in this way, and I was doing the same thing, three to
Hmm.
five videos a day until people had no choice but to see my content. Even if they didn't like it, they had to
Yeah.
see it over and over and over. And then you get the comments like, this guy's just always talking about mustard. And I'm like, haha, you're still here, even though
Yeah.
I'm always talking about mustard. But you didn't see the steak recipe or the how to steak video yesterday. You know what I mean? Or you didn't
Yeah.
comment there, but you're commenting here. And all of that is fine, but you have to be willing to do everything that it takes for you to get to that point. Don't
Yeah.
try to be anybody else. Pick a lane and stay in that lane. So, like for me, it's simple, right? And I stay in that lane no matter what. Yes, I've done a stuffed pork belly, and yes, I'll do a tomahawk steak here and there because I see it on sale, but I'm still gonna cook that thing in a simple manner. And
Hmm.
and so just to answer that question broadly, find the thing that you love or do some things, try some things until you find the thing that you love because you don't know yet. You know, you might think you like mustard on your barbecue, but
Hmm.
what if you try it without and you love it? You know,
Yeah.
so I think try everything, and based on your experience, if you share your experience with your audience, they're gonna love that more than the chop sizzle surge. You know, like
Hmm.
boop, 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 and like okay, the video was pretty and a lot of people watched it. It was really quick, got to the point, but what did you get out of it? Can you do that?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and
so
relatable there.
yeah, that's what it is. I think just being comfortable in making, you know, making the content, becoming the person along the way, because you can get a lot of things, but despite everything that you get, what did you become, or who did you become? Did you
Hmm.
become the person that sold his soul to a certain charcoal company because he liked the check, or did you become the person who is helping millions of people understand certain processes and principles around a certain subject, and you can change their life? You know,
Yeah.
you got to figure out, who do you want to become?
Yeah. For sure. So, and you kind of you got to figure out where you're comfortable being you at,
Hmm.
and and go from there, right?
Absolutely. Even when you're challenged, right? Even when people like, you can never do this without doing this, and you got to be in yourself. Know that I've tried it, right? And
Yeah.
you're just trying to call me out. You know,
Yeah.
if you're only cooking in barbecue season, you can't tell me what to do, bro. I'm doing it
Yeah.
everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a Jamaican from Florida, and I've been cooking in the snow in Utah and the heat in Arizona. Like, I don't know. I don't do those things anywhere I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Man, I feel like I could sit and chat with you for another 2 hours, but we're an hour and almost 40 minutes in,
Dude.
and I feel like we haven't even started unpacking um, half the stuff that I wanted to sit and chat about. We've kind of gone a couple different places. I had the situation with my hands, then you started talking with your hands, and we've kind of circled back around. We're both doing the talking with our hands, and we've become barbecue adjacent,
You're
and
right.
that's okay. This is the barbecue lifestyle podcast, and sometimes we go off on wild tangents. Sometimes we don't. We stay sticking on the barbecue, and it's 43 minutes, and we're in and out of the studio. But today we've kind of explored a little bit of everything. We had a lot to catch up on because you've
Yeah.
been extremely busy
Yes,
over
sir.
the last probably year. I think a year and a half, I think ago was when we did the first episode. If I rolled back through, and I think it's a year and a half ago
And
since we sat down for the first episode. Hopefully, we don't wait a year and a half to do this again, and hopefully, maybe
let's
we'll
not.
be, sitting side by side, looking at each other and in live in person, and breaking bread and having some hot dog burn-ins together.
Let's do it, man. I think that we should absolutely take that opportunity and get together and, you know, show the audience that collaborations don't hurt you. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate what you're doing. You know, I listen to your podcast on my long drives a lot of time, you know, just to keep up with you, and we're still just a phone call away, man. Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. My barbecue circle has a little Jamaican influence in it, and yours can too. You
Yep.
guys follow Cookin Wid Kunchi. Hit them with your socials, man, and we'll pull this thing back into the station and hop off for the day.
Yep. So it's Cooking with Kunchi on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I don't even know why I say Twitter. I barely do anything on there. But stay
Yeah.
tuned
Well,
for
I think they
the
call it X now too.
X. Okay. Right. So it means it's just
So
wrong. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it is too. But
Cooking with Kunchi
it's
on all platforms. Go check out all the content. Stay tuned for the YouTube blast that we're gonna be putting out here pretty soon. We're just gonna attack YouTube every single week with killer content for you guys. Um, Stay tuned for information about Backyard Barbecue Academy. That Facebook group is being built out right now. We're gonna start building that community over there. Um, Everything else, man, stay tuned for cookinwidkunchi.com. All that stuff is gonna be launched, brand new, refresh. So I hope to be back on here pretty soon, and we can hang out and talk about how much we've grown since the
yeah,
last time we talked. You know what I mean? But I
for sure.
appreciate you.
For sure. And guys, be sure to jump on his website soon because there is a picture of him in a suit and tie, and he does not look like he's going to be cooking barbecue in your backyard. I took the screenshot of the picture. I have it.
Yeah.
It's available for purchase $5, just $5 mailed to your house. Is Cooking with Kunchi in a suit with a tie. Super, super, super good picture. Um,
Yeah.
but you guys stay tuned for everything that that Kunchi is doing. I do expect these are the backs of two of my friends' books. I do expect to know when the book comes out so I can get my personal copy. If I'm in
Absolutely.
the book, because I am in this one, and it was hand signed by my buddy, and I do expect the same from you, man.
All right, brother. I appreciate it, man. I'll definitely hook
Awesome,
you up for
awesome.
sure.
Guys, everybody that that tuned in. We got Frank from Santa Cruz, Jimmy Allen, the neighbor. We've got barbecue accident lawyer, the barbecue and an accident lawyer.
Shivim and
That's
Timbers.
exactly what that picture is.
Hey, thank you guys
Guys,
for being here,
save
man.
that picture because I'm gonna have it for sale for $5 mailed to your house starting next week. So, but if you don't get this picture yourself soon, I will be the one that you'll have to reach out to get that.
All right.
Korea Marie, thank you so much for joining in and commenting throughout. Um, we'll see you guys next time. Guys, if you've enjoyed this week's episode, I would appreciate a review, a like, a share, and as always, keep smoking. See you, everybody.